I do.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order.
Wait a minute, young lady.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Now I am. Oh my goodness.
Will you bring that one up?
Okay.
Okay, any public input, gentlemen?
If you don't mind, you know, I'm serious about this particular way that you guys are running the meeting. I don't care have the public, I don't care have a public input. If you not start, the meeting, which we can really contrast, what you say, or we could just let you go, whatever. And you want to explain why the time it's different, or any other meeting it's different?
The reason is because this is a meeting of the school board in public. It's not like a deliberative session or a
No,
budget
we're not
hearing.
talking about the deliberative session.
So that's why we ask if you have any public input, you look at the agenda and see if there's anything you want to ask beforehand, and we'll go through it. That's how we do it.
And then we can interrupt you guys when you're talking. Is that,
No,
no?
you shouldn't know.
Yeah, I know. Mind you, when I say I can interrupt you anytime I want. No, I'm kidding. No, I just want to say before you guys, I personally believe, that what you guys did on a deliberative session was excellent. And I also believe that it was not fair. That's my belief. It was not fair, that you guys got a kind of, I don't know if it was a misunderstanding or it was a kind of, somebody tried to get on top of all the work that you guys did by, the budgeting, about the budgeting. I personally believe that, it's really, if you guys do anything to cut off, the budget, which some people have requested to, it will be very, very important that you guys keep in mind the teachers, because cut off teachers, to just apply for what other people, try you guys, to do it. It's very, a lot of people don't like it. I don't like it because education, it's really something important. Maybe you can find a way to cut off, the $600,000 or something else, but the teacher, in my opinion, they should stay where they are because, the kids, they need it.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words. You know that in the process of developing a budget, that because we are a Senate Bill 2 town, you do not have the old type of town meeting. You have a budget hearing in January, and that's where people from the town should come to see what is being presented and ask questions. And then at the deliberative session, as you know, we present our budget in total, and it can either be cut or made higher through the legislative body.
Meantime, it's the way things today been going on right now. You guys got, the burden of the takeoff, cut off at $300,000, which is, I'm pretty sure if I was on the board, and not just me, but a lot of people, they would have been kind of, we don't have a way going to cut off at $300,000. It's a good amount of money. But my suggestion is just to leave the teacher alone. That's, that's kind of, if you can find any other way, it would be,
Well, the board will try to take it under advisement the best we can.
Thank you.
Recommendations from the superintendent.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? First thing on the agenda is the deliberative session minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All right. Any further discussions or corrections or? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the February 19th school board meeting. Do we hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second?
Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. As you notice, the manifests are here. I don't know if everybody signed them yet or not, but you're welcome to them. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. We've asked for a Lakeway building appraisal, and we've asked for a second comment. So, Mr. Mangles, have you received anything?
I received a response from John, he's gonna be out of the country until June.
Oh,
So since we probably want something more timely, he thanked very much for our reaching out to him, but looks like we need to stay with White Mountains.
Any discussion from the board?
So nobody else has come forward?
That's the name that Carol thought probably would be second best.
Does this,
It's a particular specialty.
Yeah.
Certainly requires knowledge of the community and the potential, and he felt that going as far as Laconia was
well,
about
they
as
gather
far as
that
he would
material.
go.
They go and they gather all that municipal material, and that's where they derive their figures from, rather than personally knowing
Oh, sure.
what's going on, but they do gather that, and they know how to do that. So
so,
it would be okay to go outside the area if we have to.
Since we were looking for price comparison anyway.
yeah,
Does the DOE have any recommendations as far as repurposing old schools?
Not that I know of. We could ask. I mean, I never asked that question, Jim, to be honest, so.
Because they've had many communities
Of
across the
course.
board that they repurposed, I don't
Yeah.
know any resource or a list of appraisers who are
yeah.
skilled in that.
I have to put
Does
this to
this-
Caitlin Friday.
Yeah, we could make another, I mean, there's not a huge hurry. This is something we need to get done, but if we wanna make another reach out to make sure.
I guess I have a question. Is this gentleman out of the country right now?
Yes,
Oh, he is. He didn't give you, offer you any other names?
no, he did not.
Okay. Well, I think we could reach out to a few folks who might have some
Yeah,
suggestions.
I wrote myself on that.
Yep,
Okay,
in a couple weeks, we'll come back.
okay, thank you. New business, there was none. Committee reports, personnel, don't believe you've met.
No.
Okay. All right, facilities, I believe there is a meeting Friday at 7:30, is that right, gentlemen?
Supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay. All meetings, subcommittee meetings included, have to be posted.
So we've got enough lead time to post, correct?
Yeah.
I'll
They
leave
have to be posted, the time, the date, the place, the subcommittees of the boards, or any committees that we pick out,
So
and minutes kept.
So Judy would be to do
let's
that.
move to post Friday, and at Friday's
Well,
meeting,
Patty
we
would
will
probably do the
set a
posting,
schedule for the
and Judy
remainder of
would
the year.
take the
That
minutes,
makes
I think.
sense. Jim, I just said that we should have Patty post Friday's meeting, and then at Friday's meeting, we should set the schedule for the remainder of the school year at the very least.
Because we're supposed to meet the first Friday of every month. It doesn't always work that way.
No.
And I checked into that, of course, it's vacation last week, so.
Right.
Okay, policy committee has been busy. The first policy is our DIA, it's fund balances. A few years back, the auditors suggested that we review this and approve it every year. Nothing has really changed, it talks about fund balances, non-spendable fund balance, restricted fund balance, committed fund balance, assigned fund balance, and unassigned fund balance. And the spending prioritizations, it has not changed. So, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved?
Do we hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next policy is on IGE, it's parental objections to specific course materials. This one, as you notice, it's highlighted in red where we need the changes. And from what I can remember, the second paragraph has to notify the parents no less than 2 weeks to be given the curriculum course material for instruction of human sexuality or human sexual education. So that's been added. And then the last paragraph that's in red has to do if we accept federal funding, which we do for some of these programs. And those are the changes. I can keep going through them if you want to approve them as a bunch, or if you want to do them separately.
We'll go through them, it'd be my suggestion.
Yeah, just go through them and we'll.
Okay. The next one is policy IHAK. This is character and citizenship education. This is, so why this one has been changed is because it's been updated to incorporate the current list of principles from Education Standard 306:04I. And there's at least 6 different changes in this policy. The next policy is IHAM. This is called Health Education Exemption from Instruction. This policy is practically the same thing, to notify the parents 2 weeks in advance. And the last paragraph is if we accept federal funding, which we do. So those are the changes within those policies.
And and I meant to ask this on the other one, but it's the same thing here. When it says parents and legal guardians shall be notified by email, other written means, website, class, social media, postings, or phone call, is it one or the other, or does, like, the first one is like email or other written means?
Well,
Does it say or? I mean,
I
how
guess
many of
it
those
should-
do we have to do, I guess is my question.
one of them.
Yeah,
Just
it's,
one.
it's listing the options.
It's
Just one.
listing the options.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's doing. Any further questions? All ready to make a motion?
Okay, motion to accept policy IGE, IHAK, and IHAM for a first reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Well, if you've been following the end of the winter sports season, you know, we've been pretty busy, pretty successful. We're not quite finished yet, so we'll give you a little update just in case. Spirit Squad finished 3rd in the state preliminary competition on Sunday, and then we'll be going back to Pinkerton Academy this coming Sunday to compete once again in the state championship meet, so we wish them well. Girls basketball finished a game short, unfortunately, ending up losing the girls state basketball championship by 2 points, 32-30, to Hinsdale on Saturday morning. But we congratulate Hinsdale and certainly congratulate our girls and coaches and the parents and the entire community. I think we had a pretty amazing show of people there on Saturday. It's always a talk of who's left in town, right? But very good contingent from Littleton as well as in the semifinals, and that was a fun run that we had with them. The boys hosted Groveton over here the other night, Friday night, and again that was another great atmosphere. A lot of people came from Groveton as well, and of course from our local fans as well. That gym was pretty full, more than pretty full, busting at the seams. And I think besides the exciting game, I think that one thing of note was the national anthem. For whatever reason, as we began to get ready to play that basketball game, the recording of the national anthem malfunctioned and was not working. So we had a fan who stood up. Well, actually, we were all standing up, but started singing the national anthem, and everybody in the gym just kind of chimed in, came in, and started singing. And you know, I think it's really it's kind of poignant to me because I've heard that Littleton and Groveton are pretty strong rivals over the years, you know, and you know Groveton's had tremendous success as a we, and yet the tie that binds us together certainly was in sharing the national anthem and recognizing the commonality that we have as Americans. So that was kind of cool. Enjoyed that very, very much. So we'll see. We'll hope the best out of the boys tonight. They win. They play the championship again coming this weekend. We did receive official notification from the governor's office that we received $80,000 so far in the school safety grant. As I've reported before, this initial grant that now is officially approved was written to address the window safety issues we have over at the Academy building. And so we have some time. We have about a year or so to figure out exactly how we want to do this and the best way to use the money, as well as the 20% match that will be involved. So we have some local money that will have to go into that as well. We have 4 or 5 other grants that are sitting there waiting to be considered and hopefully approved from the same pool of money, which again, those other requests involve safety-related items, a few more cameras, a few more radios to be able to communicate effectively, and then some work down at Lakeway again for stairs that are outside of the portables is part of what's still on the table there. Last week, everyone asked what I did on the vacation. I said, what vacation? I was here, as was Patty and Tom and everybody here at the office, but it was a good chance for me to get out and do some things, see some people, work on some things that need some continued attention. I did go up to Berlin and visit with Charles Lloyd, who's the president of the White Mountains Community College. He was here today also. And the gist of that conversation, again, is how do we continue to put our programs together, how do we cooperate together, how do we look at sharing some resources perhaps in the near future, how do we make those programs more integrated, and I think the most importantly of all is how do we benefit our students through our efforts. So that's something that we'll continue to look at, put some lot of work into. I met with Kevin Richard over at Conway. He's the superintendent of schools over there. Again, the purpose of that was to look in more detail at the Eagle Academy program that we're at least considering looking at as an alternative type program for students. That still has a long ways to go in terms of shoring up the funding pieces of that and the programmatic pieces of that, but that's something that, again, we're putting some effort into. Today, I was over to Lakeway and saw a winter program production of The Tempest. There was a dozen students who worked with Debbie during the winter program to participate in a drama event, and so what they did today, Ms. Steinauer with them, was present a little shortened version of Shakespeare's Tempest. But it was good to see our elementary kids getting involved in the arts, singing, drama. So that was a very, very interesting event, and one that I enjoyed a lot today. And that's all I have.
Yes, Rudy.
This is posted because you're talking about some grant that you received from Concord,
Yes.
right? I don't know if any of you guys, February 17, watch the State Over the State address on TV by Governor Chris Sununu, right? That, you guys watch it? You watch it? It's all what he talk about. He talk about school, education, and money to give it to the schools. It was a long meeting, but I enjoy it. That's why I know so much, because I keep in touch with everybody.
Yep.
Christus Sununu said, if I, I know I'm right. He said that any school, especially up in, in the north, that they ask you for funds, for anything, especially, for the security and, for the good of the school. They have over $30 million down there that they're gonna spread them to the school. Now, you can tell me why you mentioned this. I mentioned this because more money you get from down there, less it costs us, right? Quote unquote, I don't know. But it was very interesting that the governor, really is attached to the education and stuff like that. Now, I want to ask you another thing. What do you guys do for security up in this school here? Do you have a guy that got a gun inside the school? Do you care? Please answer me the question if you don't mind. Because,
We do have a school safety officer,
oh yeah, you got Louis.
Louis Babin,
Yes,
but no, he does not carry a firearm.
no carry gun.
No,
But just in case they pass the law, he's allowed
right.
to carry it. That's correct.
And the $30 million, the money I mentioned tonight is part of that grant fund, and the other grants that are being looked at now that we submitted are part of that as well. And there's been a fair amount of interest from schools in the North Country to utilize that fund.
Yeah, that's great. It's important that the school doesn't abandon, whatever comes from Concord, because you guys get a lot of help. I mean, it's all you gotta do, you gotta ask.
Right.
That's it. It's right there. All right, thank you. Oh, another thing. Do you guys charge to watch the games? Do people gotta pay when they comes to the
They
basketball?
do.
Not senior citizens, though.
No, I'm just,
The
yeah.
NHIA, yes.
What do you guys do with the money? You invest it or?
Yeah, the
Uniforms.
playoff games that I mentioned were actually, and I think as Millie said, a good chunk of that goes to the state
Yeah,
organization.
partial, yeah.
Yeah, we keep some for the expenses, but most of that goes to the state.
All right.
Other games, there's some booster club involvement, and also some of it goes to the school.
Thank you.
I've got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Have you finalized the budget that's being presented next week? Next week is the voting.
Right.
Have you finalized the budget at this point?
The only thing that's finalized is the amount.
Is the amount.
We don't know exactly how we're gonna,
Show
where
the
we're gonna cut
reduction.
out to 300,000, but the amount
Okay,
is
but-
set.
But we only got a week left. How are you gonna notify the taxpayers when you finalize that budget?
Well, the
Before
tax-
they go vote?
The taxpayers have a choice. They have either the $630,000 or whatever that figure is, or they have the default budget. So you have a choice of one or the other.
They vote on the amount of the budget.
They-
Yeah,
I know,
okay.
yeah.
I don't know, it seems to me there's a lack of communications, because there was a lot of people at the deliberative said, let's cut 300,000. They really wanna know where that 300,000 is being cut.
It's gonna be cut.
And a lot of people, I know that you guys were asked that question at night. How are we gonna know what's gonna be cut before we actually vote? Because that could make a difference whether they vote for the higher amount, depending upon how you're cutting it. How are you gonna get that out to the taxpayers? Or you're not going to, you don't, it's like you don't care, it's either this or that, take it or leave it.
It's not that we don't care at all. It's not that at all. The fact of the matter, many of those people, I'm sorry to have to say this on public TV, but they have to come to the budget committee meeting. That's where they can hear everything, they can ask questions. And from the budget committee meeting, whatever happens there, we can either, change it around before the deliberative session. But once they've made it at the deliberative session, I mean, we don't know most of our, as you know, 71% of our budget is labor.
Exactly,
So
exactly,
where are you gonna get the $300,000
from labor,
from labor?
you
Do
know?
we know exactly where yet? No, we don't. I'm sorry. We don't.
Yeah, I think Ralph, I mean, again, I think that's a question that obviously we've talked about a little bit with the board and talked about with my administrators. And when people go on Tuesday to vote, you know, what does it mean if I vote for the reduced budget? What's going to go away? Are the programs going to go away? Are there going to be, you know, significant changes in the overall program? And I think again that had it been the 600,000, it'd been a very different scenario. But as I said that night when I was asked, very much very point blank, what are you going to do? And I said then it's personnel. And I think that what we've been hearing again and again and again for some time now is that we're overstaffed. So it will be personnel. It'll involve cuts to professional staff as well as support staff. How much that will be will depend on some other factors at the very end, because this vote comes now. We have to notify employees by April 15th that they're going to be rehired. We still have people that could retire between now and then. We still have people who could relocate between now and then. So it's very difficult to know exactly what's going to happen. But I think in general, to answer the question, and so the public has some idea, you know, when you start reducing, you're going to have some larger class sizes perhaps. Again, we're reminded over and over again that our student-teacher ratio is we have more teachers than the rest of the state does, or, you know, fewer students per teacher. So, you know, I would expect you could see that to change over time, probably to more students per teacher. And then with our support staff as well. That's, you know, so I think the board has listened, and I think certainly the community spoke on February 13th that they expect us to continue to reduce the budget, at least some. You know, and it certainly wasn't a draconian cut by any means. But that's the direction we certainly will have to go. And there's some factors that are still in play, as I mentioned, that will affect what the final decision looks like. And that's, you know, I think it's, and then I think to answer your question in a broader sense, going forward, looking ahead, looking toward next year's budget season, actually, the budget for the following year. You know, there's
starting now.
Yeah, we are, and I think we need to, you're right, we need to engage the community. I said right in here, and I've said it several times, and I thought about saying in my report tonight, by the way, I've said it before, but I'll say it now. You know, I think to me there's three big areas that we really need help from the community. We need by help, I mean we need people's ideas, expertise, experience, background, opinion, and their time to wrestle with what I think are three very fundamental questions. Question number one is, what kind of a school system are we able and willing to support? The willing part, I think, has always been there. As I've said many times, this community has supported the schools. But there is the ability as well. You know, because again, there is the ability to pay. The ability to pay taxes is not unlimited. Okay, we have to recognize that, and so that's a part of it. So what kind of a school system, what kind of programs is the community able and willing to support? Okay, that's a very fundamental question. And how do we find ways to get those programs or to continue those programs in a way that's cost effective? And are there programs down the road that may not exist anymore because we simply can't afford them anymore? Okay, we need priorities, and this is something again that 5 people alone, even though they're the elected representatives, and myself and my administrative staff alone, we can't make these decisions without input and help and support and advice. The other big topic is Lakeway. You know, what do we do with Lakeway? What happens with that building? What happens with that facility? I've said before, there's at least 4 options here, and there's many options within those 4, but I'll go through them again. One option is to replace that building with a new building, probably on a different site. Another option is to fix the building that's there, and we're working on looking at what that would look like and what it would cost. And another option is to find someplace else for our kids to go for elementary school. Are there other options out there? Are there other ways that we could, are there other facilities where there'd be an upgrade to what's there right now? And if you've been in that building much at all, it wouldn't take a lot to be an upgrade. And number 4 is to do nothing. And I don't think that's an option. I don't think that's a good option, because, you know, we're working on borrowed time there. That building has lots and lots and lots of issues, as the architect who was here a few weeks ago or a month ago, who's coming back in the very near future, will attest to. It's going to take a lot of money to get that building up to speed. So letting it sit there while things happen, like a pump breaking in one of our new unit ventilators, freezing because of system failure, things like that are the things that we continue to live with and continue to cost us money dearly. And then finally is how do we personalize education for students, and for all students, but particularly students as they get into the secondary years, middle school, high school years. How do we find ways to educate kids in so many different ways? Whether that's what's the school day look like, what's the school year look like, what's the role of the community in educating them, what type of education they have, because the models that we've existed for many, many years don't fit all the needs of all students anymore. I think we know that. The good news is we've got a great community to do this with. I think that part's going to be really, really interesting, because we have existing alliances. That's part of what I was talking about earlier with a outreach to the community college. But we have many, many alliances and many, many people in this town that have always been there to help educate kids, to help support kids, and so that's a huge one. We've got to do a better job of giving our kids the educational experiences that fit their learning style, their interests, their future ambitions, and give them a future. So that's a very long answer to a very good question.
And I agree 100%, but you're not reaching the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, because the only thing you publish is there's a meeting this week. That's the only thing that comes out in the paper, and the website is terrible to get around. Your names aren't even posted on the website, and they should be.
They are.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
If you click on it, you can't find your names anywhere.
Under board.
No, it's not. You
Yes,
tried.
it is. I did, today, already.
Did you change it today? I was in this morning, and I could not find one of your names anywhere on your website.
A new website is on the way.
Yeah, but
It'll
they've
be in
been there.
this summer. You're right, the current website's terrible.
Because if you go in the school board, the school board's names are blacked out. The
Oh,
board members is blacked out, everybody else, you can open it up and get into it.
you can look at it right here.
Here, it's right here.
So where did you click to get into that?
Littleton School, Littleton State.
Yeah, no, I understand, I just went up to
The one you
school
gave
board.
me, yes.
School board?
And then
I
I went to
understand the
school
problem.
board.
Then she
And
gave
that's
me
what
the
came
right, you gave me the
I
right.
got it.
Click on school board
I got no
itself,
problem.
I just did.
up in here.
Okay,
Okay, now, that's not on the public website.
Ralph,
Well, you
It's not.
I don't have a private one.
SAU 84,
Yes.
you need to look
No,
up
that's not good.
littletonschools.org.
Well, how does the public know that?
It's,
How does the taxpayers know that? I've been going in and out of that website for
I'll
a
bet you
year
didn't know that
now.
better than they do our number.
Huh?
84. I bet they know Littleton schools better than they know SAU 84.
Then why don't you shut down SAU 84?
SAU
They're working
84
on
doesn't have
that.
money.
Yeah,
All right.
they are. I did
Because
bring that to
your
the
website
attention.
is terrible to get around.
Yeah,
It's hard to
old one.
find anything on there.
Mhm.
You
I
need,
understand
and
the
you need,
problem.
and you've got a section there that says public notices. You really aren't posting anything in there. You posted exactly what comes in the paper,
Mhm.
but there should be so much more in there for public notices, like what's happening with the
agenda
budget.
is there too.
I know, I pull up the agenda, I can pull that up, and I can pull up the minutes afterwards.
This is the SAU
But it's,
website.
I'm sorry, you're just not getting to the taxpayers.
It's there.
I know you can argue with me all day long, but you're not getting to the taxpayers. We have no idea what's going on with the school board by your website. All we see is the advertisements to paper when you have a meeting. Unfortunately, people out there have to start coming to the meetings.
I was just gonna say,
I
there
agree
were 4
100%
people
with
at our
that.
budget hearing. 4.
I agree with that.
4 people.
They need to start showing up, but they need to know more about what's happening with the
Yeah.
school, and you need to publish a newsletter or something out to the public.
I said, again, Ralph, I hope in the future that, we'll get people to come out, and it's part of the conversation of the big 3 questions I just threw out there tonight.
No, I don't either.
It's gonna that, we need help with that.
Yeah, and we gotta get that out to the public if we're gonna get the help.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I totally
Maybe
agree.
you should take out from the internet SEO 84. You gotta take them out completely.
Dale's working on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Because if these
Yeah,
are.
that's a good point.
Yes.
The old.
Because I have the same problem, so
Yeah.
that time you're in town, you know. Now I have
Thank
no
you
problem.
for telling
Everything
me. Yeah.
is there.
That's what I've been going into for a year now, and I've been so
Oh.
disappointed because you can't find anything in there.
LittletonSchools.org.
Ah, yes.
Okay, now I know that.
Mr. Superintendent, I want to ask you, what you said before, you tried to tell, all 3 of us, or maybe the other one too, that you have so close on teachers?
You what?
You said that you got too many teachers? That's.
No, I didn't say that. I said,
Wait a minute.
we hear that though, yeah.
Excuse me?
We hear that a lot, that, and
That's what he that, said,
we
right?
have too many
He said it's
teachers
what-
for the
that's
number of
what the
students.
public
Yeah.
said here, we have too many teachers.
We're not saying that, that's what the public is telling
I know.
us.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth.
We don't think we have
Depends on
too
who you
many
talk to.
teachers.
Yeah.
No, because he also mentioned that, if he's gotta do something with the teacher, doesn't mean he's gonna have a classroom instead of 20, 30 kids, because as you can understand what he tried to say, is we gotta, this is $300,000 that they gotta come from someplace. And also, if I don't make a mistake, in the front of the page of the paper, they was saying that you guys would, find out the budget through, insurance or something like that, that, you would raise the insurance to the, the health care, I'm sorry, the health care to the teachers, stuff like
We were
that.
able to reduce. some
That was in the
Right.
front of the
Yes.
pages, right? You're
Right.
still gonna do that? or-
Yeah, that,
An article
assuming,
passes.
if that support staff warrant article passes, that's, we'll realize, again, it varies a little bit, around $90,000 in savings, insurance costs. So yeah, that's why that particular warrant article shows a, impact of a minus figure, because it actually saves some money.
Yeah, because right now they pay 15% and you guys pay 85%.
Yeah, and that's not changing so much, Rudy, as it's just the carrier, where it's, again, it's kind of we're going into a system that's more consumer driven. Frankly, carries less, shifts some of the risk over to the insured, not a unreasonable amount, but it's a change.
But still, it's gotta be specified, because like Ralph said,
Change, and it's a good change.
the people, the people that pay tax, the taxpayer,
Yep.
if you don't have something very concrete, that people, when the people read,
Of course,
they gotta come up with some kind of,
right.
that you guys are really working very hard, to go down on the budget and stuff like that.
Right.
If you don't think it being safe, it's, you guys are really in a tough situation, if you ask me about,
Okay.
with the help of the community, we'll do 5 now. We'll figure these out.
And then what you gotta do, like Rod say, you gotta just get in touch with the community
Yep, I agree.
to come or here, or you're gonna have a special, I think a year or 2 years ago, you guys have a special meeting that all the parents, they can.
Right.
This was a year ago, something
Or
like that.
longer, yeah.
Yeah, and that was at the Opera House. That's, yeah, right? It was at the Opera House over here.
High school music room, wasn't it? Wow, doesn't
It
matter.
was someplace about all the parents, they come, and everybody was asked a question, you know,
Yeah.
about how the school, you know, is gonna,
Right.
is gonna support themselves and stuff like that. We know, everybody knows, you know, $70 million, you know, it's a lot of money. But also, you gotta find a solution.
Yes.
And I don't think so the solution is, you know, to lay off a teacher. I'm gonna repeat it myself, you know.
Well, that's the input that we get though.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
I
to
know,
support
but
the
that's why you
teachers
gotta
and
work
to-
hard.
right.
That's why you gotta work hard.
Mhm.
Another thing that probably as a superintendent, what you can do, you gotta work very hard to really get in touch with the town.
Yeah.
The town and the school, they gotta work it together, because if
agree.
they don't work it together, you know, it's,
Now, we have,
every year is gonna be a mess, every year. But,
Okay. Do I hear a motion to go into non-public, please?
I make a motion to enter into non-public session under paragraph 2, section 3 of the RSA 91A:3 of the right to know law for number 3, matters that would adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of the board, and number 2, the hiring of any person as a public employee, taking with us the superintendent, the business manager, and Patty.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Roll call vote.
Or Cook.
Kim Woodson.
Nellie Nelson,
Jim Manning?
Dan Reed. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
yeah.
good, good gentlemen.